Right now, the entire planet is captivated by the 2026 FIFA World Cup. With 104 matches spread across 16 cities in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. This is not just the biggest World Cup in history. It is the single most viewed sporting event this planet has ever staged. The media is selling it as a beautiful global celebration. They call it the world's game, a sport born in the streets, played on patches of dirt from Sao Paulo to Lagos to Jakarta. A sport, they say, for the working class. But if you actually tried to attend a match this month, you discovered a very dark reality very quickly. Because behind the cheering crowds and the painted faces and the national anthems, the 2026 World Cup has been quietly transformed into something else entirely. It is no longer a tournament for the everyday fan. It has become a highly engineered, multi-billion-dollar corporate machine, meticulously designed to extract maximum wealth from the very working-class fans who built this sport into what it is today. And the people running this machine, they're not hiding it. The numbers are public. The contracts are real. The math is brutal. This is the untold truth of the 2026 World Cup and how the beautiful game was handed over to billionaires, one clause at a time. Welcome to Know the Truth. To understand exactly what happened to this tournament, you only need to look at one number, 500 million. That is the number of ticket requests FIFA received across the initial 3 sales phases for the 2026 World Cup. 500 million requests for a tournament with roughly 5 million available seats. That means for every seat in every stadium across every match in 3 countries, approximately 100 people wanted it. FIFA knew this number. They saw the demand. And here is the critical question. What do you do when you have a product that 100 people want for every single unit you have available? If you are running a sport, if your mission is, as FIFA's own charter states, the development of football and its promotion as a vehicle of social development, you build a system that gives the passionate, everyday fan the best possible chance of getting in. But FIFA is not running a sport. FIFA is running a business. And so instead, they turn to dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing is a revenue model you will recognize from airlines and hotels. The more people want something, the higher the price climbs automatically. It sounds neutral. It is not neutral. In the context of a sporting event, dynamic pricing is a direct transfer mechanism. It takes money out of the pockets of fans who planned and saved for months and routes it toward brokers, resellers, and FIFA's own bottom line. The consequences were immediate and they were predictable. By the time this tournament kicked off on June 12th, more than half of the 92 remaining matches were priced on the secondary market at a minimum of $1,000 per ticket. Not the good seats, not the floor seats, the cheapest available ticket, $1,000 or more. Visual, screenshots of resale sites with blurred but clearly 4-digit price figures. The final? As of right now, the get-in price on the resale market is over $8,000 for one ticket to one match. And here is what makes this particular crisis different from every World Cup that came before it. The primary market was supposed to be the safety valve. FIFA's official ticket portal was supposed to be the place where a real fan, not a broker, not a corporation, could get a seat at face value. But the system FIFA built made that almost impossible. The demand queues were chaotic, the sale windows were short, and the tickets that did sell at face value immediately flowed onto the secondary market, where brokers flipped them at 300%, 400%, 500% markups. Here is a real number to put this in context. The cheapest match at this tournament, and there are a handful of low-demand group stage games where you could find a seat for under $200, features teams like Cape Verde versus Saudi Arabia. Matches that the majority of the world's football fans have no cultural connection to whatsoever. The moment a team with a real fan base is on the pitch, Brazil, England, Mexico, the United States, Germany, you are back to 4 figures. Minimum. So what actually happened inside the stadiums during those first matches? Reports emerged that sections were visibly empty during kickoff. Not because fans didn't want to be there, but because brokers who had bought blocks of seats couldn't move them fast enough at the prices they'd set. FIFA responded by quietly releasing additional primary tickets in batches to push resale prices down, with the primary portal jumping from fewer than 2,000 available seats one Sunday to over 10,000 the next morning. Think about that. FIFA had the ability to release more seats all along. They chose the timing strategically, not to help fans, but to manage market pressure. This is not the behavior of a sports organization. This is the behavior of a commodity trader. And who is profiting most from this chaos? A company called On Location, a subsidiary of Endeavor, one of the most powerful sports and entertainment conglomerates in the world. FIFA appointed On Location as the exclusive official hospitality provider of the 2026 World Cup. Every premium ticket, every hospitality package, every corporate suite, it all flows through one company. And that company's shareholders are not football fans. They are investors. The everyday fan who built this sport, who passed down the love of the game from parent to child across generations, is left watching on a screen, and the broadcast itself. That costs money too. But the financial architecture of exclusion does not stop at the ticket price. That is just the door. Once you are inside, the real class division begins. The 2026 World Cup represents what can only be described as the complete, systematic gentrification of stadium culture. And the numbers make it impossible to deny. FIFA appointed On Location, the same company that handles luxury hospitality for the Super Bowl, the Olympics, and Coachella, as the sole official provider of premium experiences at every single match. Not some matches, every match, across all 16 host cities, in 3 countries. This is a monopoly on luxury, engineered and enforced by the governing body of the sport itself. And what does that luxury look like? Private suites for a single match start at roughly $43,200. That is not a typo. $43,000 for one game. Full private boxes that accommodate between 6 and 12 people for a venue series, meaning multiple matches at the same stadium, exceed $100,000. These suites come with preferred entry, dedicated service staff, curated multi-course dining with live cooking stations, sommelier-guided beverage service, and meet-and-greet access to football legends. Now compare that to what a regular fan gets when they manage to secure a ticket, a seat, A concrete or plastic seat, hundreds of feet from the pitch, surrounded by other fans who also paid hundreds, sometimes thousands, of dollars to sit next to them. No dedicated service, no curated dining, just the privilege of being inside the building. The physical architecture of these stadiums literally encodes the class division. The premium levels are close to the pitch, climate controlled and sealed off from the general crowd. The regular fans are pushed higher, further, more vertical, more removed from the thing they came to see. This is not new in American sports. NFL stadiums have operated on this model for decades. But the World Cup was always supposed to be different. It was supposed to be the exception. The tournament where the atmosphere came from the stands, from the working class fans who spent months saving, who traveled across continents, who sang for 90 minutes straight, regardless of the score. Those fans are still there in some sections, but they are surrounded increasingly by corporate hospitality guests who are there for the networking opportunity, not the football. Research on stadium atmosphere at heavily corporatized sporting events consistently shows the same result. The energy drops, the spontaneity dies, and the broadcast product, the thing billions of people watch at home, gets flatter. So in the pursuit of maximum revenue per seat, FIFA is not just pricing out fans. They are degrading the very product that makes the World Cup worth watching. And here is the piece that almost nobody is talking about. The official hospitality program at this tournament is marketed explicitly toward corporate clients. In FIFA's own words, designed for companies hosting their guests or employees. The World Cup suite is not a football experience. It is a business entertainment vehicle, fully dressed in football branding. The sport is the wallpaper. The real product being sold is access, exclusivity, and the optics of wealth. A child watching this World Cup in Argentina or Nigeria or Indonesia will never, in any realistic scenario, be able to afford the experience being sold in those suites. They can watch on a screen, they can dream, but the stadium increasingly is not for them. It was never designed to be. Here is the chapter that should make every citizen in every host city angry, not frustrated, angry. When cities across the United States competed to host 2026 World Cup matches, politicians stood at podiums and made a very specific promise. They said the economic windfall would be transformational, overflowing restaurants, sold-out hotels, thousands of jobs, a generational return on investment. What they did not read out loud was the host city agreement, a dense legal document that FIFA required every single participating city to sign. And that document tells a very different story. Let's start with the tax exemptions, because they are the most nakedly revealing part of this arrangement. Every single host city in the United States is required by FIFA to exempt World Cup ticket sales from state and local sales taxes, not as a gesture of goodwill, not as a negotiated compromise, as a contractual demand, a condition of hosting. The numbers are not abstract. Georgia is expected to lose up to $25 million in state and local sales tax revenue from matches played in Atlanta alone. Florida faces around $7.4 million in lost revenue from Miami. Kansas City, Missouri, where 6 matches are being played, could forfeit over $11 million, money that would normally fund public education, healthcare, and local services. And understand what this means in practice. Every other NFL game, every other concert, every other sporting event in those stadiums generates sales tax that flows back into the city. The World Cup specifically does not. The exception was not volunteered by these cities. It was demanded in writing by a private Swiss organization as the price of admission. But the sales tax exemptions are, as one policy expert put it, just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath that tip is a mountain of public spending. Each US host city was expected to absorb between $100 million and $200 million in costs related to infrastructure upgrades, security deployment, and logistical preparation. Houston alone received $65 million in federal government funding for security, part of a broader $625 million in American taxpayer money invested in this tournament's operations. And here is what FIFA receives in return for the privilege of using these cities, their stadiums, their police forces, their public infrastructure, and their taxpayer money. Nothing. FIFA does not pay rent for the stadiums. FIFA does not pay the security costs. FIFA does not pay income tax on its broadcasting revenues. The contracts specifically require exemption from income tax on media rights income generated within host countries. FIFA keeps the billions from ticket sales, broadcasting deals, and commercial sponsorships almost entirely tax-free, and then the money leaves the country. A legal analysis of the 2026 host city agreements describes FIFA as a private association incorporated under Swiss law that regularly compels host cities to pass new legislation exempted from taxation, subordinate local policing arrangements to its operational preferences, and waive their immunity from international arbitration. FIFA disputes in the host city agreements are settled not in American courts, but in Zurich under Swiss law. American cities signed away their legal standing in their own disputes with FIFA. Mexico's situation is even more extreme. Of the three host nations, only Mexico granted FIFA a complete national tax exemption for the entire duration of the tournament. Every purchase, every transaction, every payment related to the World Cup in Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara exempt. The agreement was signed by a previous administration, and the current government, despite public resistance, confirmed it was legally binding and could not be undone. Now, proponents of hosting will argue that the economic activity generated by the tournament more than compensates for these concessions. Hotels fill up, restaurants see record months, local businesses thrive. And there is some truth to this. For specific industries, in specific neighborhoods, for a specific window of time. But economists who study mega events are nearly unanimous on the broader picture. 12 of the last 14 World Cups since 1966 resulted in net financial losses for the host nations. The economic impact studies used to justify hosting consistently overcount benefits while ignoring public costs. The short-term boost is real. The long-term return is largely a fiction. And the people who benefit most from that short-term boost, the hotel chains, the airline industry, the corporate hospitality sector, not the local restaurant that had to close for a week because its neighborhood was barricaded for security, not the residents displaced from neighborhoods that were cleaned up for visiting executives, not the taxpayers who will be paying for the infrastructure upgrades long after the final whistle. The profits leave, the bill stays, That is the contract every host city signed. The 2026 World Cup will, by every financial metric, be the most profitable sporting event in human history. FIFA projects it will generate $11 billion during its current financial cycle. $11 billion from a game played with a round ball on a grass field. But sit with that number for a moment, not as a celebration, as a question. Who generated that $11 billion? Not FIFA's executives, not the corporate sponsors, not the luxury suite clients sipping champagne at midfield. It was generated by billions of fans across the planet who have loved this sport their entire lives, who taught their children to love it, who watched every qualifying match, every group stage game, every heartbreaking penalty shootout. Fans who do not own a piece of this sport. Fans who had no seat at the table when these contracts were negotiated. Fans who are now being priced out of the stadiums their passion built. Football was born in those streets. Its entire mythology, the reason it spread to every corner of the globe while other sports stayed regional, is the radical democracy of it. A ball, a patch of ground, 2 goals. That is all you need. No equipment budgets, no private coaching, no country club memberships. Just the game. And at its highest level, that game has been captured. Not by the fans who played it on those streets, by a system of corporate wealth that recognized several decades ago that the passion of billions of people is an extractable resource, that the love of the game could be commodified, that the World Cup is not just a tournament, it is a platform, and platforms are for selling. FIFA is a non-profit organization under Swiss law. Technically, it does not have shareholders. In practice, it has something more powerful, a monopoly on the world's most popular sport, with no meaningful competition, no democratic accountability to fans, and a demonstrated willingness to use that monopoly to extract maximum value from every host city, every sponsor, and every fan who wants to attend. The 48-team expansion that made this World Cup possible, more teams, more matches, more host cities, was not driven by a desire to grow the sport. It was driven by a desire to grow the revenue pool. More matches means more television rights deals. More host cities means more infrastructure investment by more governments. More teams means more national fan bases buying tickets and merchandise. The tournament got bigger, so the machine could get richer. And here is the most uncomfortable truth of this entire video. None of this is going to change unless the people with the leverage decide to use it. Cities have to be willing to walk away from hosting bids. The 2018 bidding process already showed that FIFA's financial demands caused cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, and Glendale, Arizona, to withdraw rather than accept the terms. That is leverage. That is the beginning of a renegotiation. But as long as the next city is always willing to sign, as long as the prestige of hosting outweighs the financial reality, FIFA has no incentive to change a single line of those contracts. The 2026 World Cup will break every record. FIFA will announce it as a triumph. The matches will be extraordinary. The football itself has been remarkable, as it always is, because the players are the one part of this that the corporate machine hasn't been able to fully commodify. Not yet. But as we watch the final matches unfold over these next few weeks, there is one question worth carrying with you, not as a way to diminish the football, as a way to see it clearly. When you watch a player score the goal of the tournament, when 70,000 people erupt and the camera captures that pure, unrepeatable human moment, ask yourself, who owns that moment? Who profits from it? And who paid for the stadium it happened in? Is this still the world's game? Or is it just the world's most valuable commodity? Leave your answer in the comments, especially if you tried to buy a ticket to this tournament and felt what that process actually costs. If you want to know the truth about the hidden forces shaping the world around you, subscribe. We'll see you next time.